course, I acknowledge country from everyone who is joining us today, and our special guests from Papua New Guinea as well. So, I'd like to recognise our fellow board members and our special guests that are joining us, Community First Development Ambassadors, Pat Anderson, and of course Bill Armstrong to my left. And I also like to acknowledge His Excellency, the Australian High Commissioner for Papua New Guinea, John Philp, and it's really a real pleasure to have you here to speak later. And I'd like to acknowledge Theonila Matbob, Minister for Education and Member for Loro constituency of the autonomous Bougainville government. We do have some apologies. So apologies from the Minister for Indigenous Affairs, the Honourable Linda Burney. And it's really exciting to have you join us, Bill, in person. Three of us here. We haven't kind of connected too much in person, always been on Zoom or something or Teams. So it's really good to have you here. So the presentation was originally planned for late 2022, but we had to reschedule due to a range of factors that affected things to make this happen. But we're here now, so which is really exciting. So something I do need to talk about is why did Community First Development actually create this award? Well, it's because of this amazing person on my left, but yay! But Community First Development created this award to honour the enormous contribution Bill has made to the advancement of human rights, both in Australia and also internationally. Bill's extensive background and commitment to supporting people to achieve self-determination is evident by his successful career achievements and the influence he holds to bring about change and greater understanding of the importance of this for everyone, and particularly for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. So Bill's contribution to the evolution of Community First Development's maturation as an organisation is significant. He was instrumental to the board discussions that moved the focus to more clearly embed self-determination at the heart of everything we do. When Bill retired in 2019, we wanted to create something worthy in the name that reflects his deep commitment to human rights and in particular self-determination for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. So I have great faith that through the work of people like Bill and the award recipient we recognise today, we will see change in Australia. So Steph will now announce the recipient for the award for 2023.
I'm pretty excited about this, I have to say. This year is the third year of the award, and we received some really strong nominations from supporters, volunteers, staff and community members. And it was just such a joy to read through them and to send them up to the deciding panel, because it shows the depth and commitment of all the people who are around Community First Development. So pretty exciting to see such a strong field. I want to thank everyone who took the time to nominate. It takes some time and it takes some thought and commitment, and I'm really grateful that you did. Thank you. So we get a chance to honour the people who are contributing so much to achieving human rights outcomes for First Nations peoples, no matter where we are. I'm really pleased to announce that the 2022 award will be going to Dr Fiona Crockford.
Yay!
Now, I can see Dr Crockford's gobsmacked there, so I'm going to talk a little bit about why Dr Crockford, Fiona, has won this award. Congratulations. I'm going to talk about Fi's nomination, then I'm going to throw to Bill, and that might give Fiona some time to have a think and gather some thoughts, so she might want to say a couple of words. So this nomination was really quite comprehensive. Fiona has had a really long history of working with and supporting First Nations peoples and communities. She's lived and worked in a remote Aboriginal community. She was heavily involved with the people of Timor and of course in Papua New Guinea, where she is at the moment. Throughout this time, Fiona also was on secondment to Community First Development as a General Manager for Community Development and as an active volunteer. She's always centred her work and her interactions around people-based activities, so getting to know people. We all know in our space, First Nations people, that it's about relationships, right? So Fiona is really focused on that and how to support a whole community to thrive. some of the work that she's done through CFD or through her posts with DFAT, and she's had 3, she's been in Port Moresby, the Torres Strait, and now in Bougainville, have really focused on how to connect us all as a mob. So keeping that key element in the front of mind around self-determination, but also recognising that community-led solutions are the ones that are most sustainable for our peoples in order to shift this gap of disadvantage. Fiona's been really excellent at connecting people. So we know that as First Nations people working with First Nations people, we are a lot stronger and can offer solutions to each other and support each other. And Fiona's definitely recognised that and has been instrumental in bringing First Nations people in Australia, particularly our staff, volunteers and communities, into connection with communities and people in Papua New Guinea and Bougainville. A couple of examples of this, last year we were part of a panel that was pulled together by Fiona around women in peace. So we're having this really strategic, high-level healing dialogue with just First Nations women, with others who could listen in, but it was really led by us. And Fiona was a key driver of that dialogue. She has brought women leaders from Community First Development and our communities that we support over to Port Moresby through DFAT, and thank you for DFAT's support on this, but we've had conversations around women in business, women in leadership, governance, a range of things over time. And most recently, Fiona brought together some Aboriginal people who are very skilled visual and visual artists and I don't know what the word is, visual artists and audio artists, musicians, together to inspire youth to achieve their aspirations and goals over in Bougainville. There's so much I can talk to you about Fiona. Her nomination, as I said, was really extensive, but really focused on her support for First Nations people doing it themselves and elevating our voices to achieve the best outcomes. And so we're really, really excited, Fiona, to provide you with this award, and congratulations. I'm just so amazed by the work that you do and your decades-long commitment. I am going to throw over now to Bill, so Fiona, it gives you a chance to gather some words, and we'll come back to you shortly over in Port Moresby. Bill, I'd love for you to speak.
Thank you, Steph. Thanks, Karen.
No worries.
And colleagues, I also want to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we are and everyone else on this link at present sitting. And particularly thank the High Commissioner for and the Minister for participating. Fiona, I'm delighted that you've received this award. If for no other reason, there are 2 things in my life that this brings together. One is that my first introduction to international development was in the early 60s when I was responsible for the Australian Volunteer Program in Papua New Guinea. And secondly, and more recently, 50 years later, working with Community First as this organisation puts into practice the principles of community development and works to build links across First Nations peoples in the region. So your work fits in there perfectly to that, and so it makes me very, very happy to be part of this award to you. Your commitment to community development, and in particular building across cultures and between neighbours, is fundamental and basic, in my opinion, not only to development but also to Australia's national security. National security requires not only improving government-to-government relations, but it also requires people-to-people and community-to-community relations. Our national security, in my mind, is tied very much to the peoples of the whole region, and we must learn to live with and work with the people in the region, And the more we understand each other in the region, the better our national security will be. On the other hand, development is not something that anyone can do for anyone else. Too often I find we confuse aid and welfare with development. We always seem to talk about aid and development. They're different things. Don't get me wrong, aid and welfare have a place, but in themselves they're not necessarily developmental. Development is a process in which all participate. Community development involves the engagement of the community. It's about self-determination, and that's why today the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Island people of this country are asking through the Uluru Statement from the heart for the establishment of a First Nations voice enshrined in the Constitution. This approach to development hasn't to date, in my opinion, found an easy fit into government programs, nor for that matter many of the non-government organisations' activities, either nationally or internationally. And much more is needed to be done to facilitate First Nations-led community development and honour our commitment to self-determination and human rights. And it's in this area, Fiona, that your work is so important, and why I'm so pleased to congratulate you on receiving this award. Congratulations.
Now, in a sleight of hand, that is actually the award that we can't get over to you just yet, Fiona. But that will be coming to you, and this is the Perpetual Award that sits in the Office of Community First Development. And you might be able to see it's an elder's profile and a young person's profile in the shape of a globe. So we think it's a beautiful piece of artwork, but we will get that to you. Congratulations, Fiona. Would you like to say a couple of words?
Are we on mute? I hope you can hear me okay. I'm still shaking, and I just hope that the words that come out of my mouth are going to make sense. I'm obviously here with the High Commissioner, His Excellency John Philp, and the Bougainville team, and Minister Counsellor Paul Lehmann. Thanks to all of you for coming. We're on Motuan land here, so I just want to start by acknowledging the traditional owners of this land and paying our respects here to Motuan elders, past, present and emerging. And also a big shout out to our friends at John and Emma's house in Malasang in Wuka. They include, I think, Minister for Education, the Honourable Theonila Matbob, Minister for Lands, Honourable Amanda Misono, Minister for Primary Industry and Marine Resources, Geraldine Paul, and also the Deputy Speaker of the Bougainville House of Representatives, Simon Pentanu, who I know is a very good friend of Bill Armstrong's. Sorry, I'm very nervous. And also, hi there, good morning to our Booker team if you're watching. The nomination has come completely out of the blue. I thought they'd made a mistake. It's another Fiona, sorry. But it's an incredible honour. I've known Bill for over a decade and known of him for many decades more. And to win an award that bears his name is really special because he's one of the greatest of Australians humanitarians. And he has a heart and a generosity of spirit that is wider than the sky. So it's a big honour. Thanks, Bill. Thanks for being an inspiration. And to Steph Harvey and also to Karen Millwood for being true friends and mentors. And for the Community First Development team for leading the change in First Nations communities across Australia. I came to Australia as a migrant in 1981, And since then, in the words of the young rap artist Jake Fabila, I've made it my mission to promote First Nations people's cultures, languages and achievements, and to incorporate their knowledges and expertise into the work that I do in development and have done since 2006. I'm especially proud of the work we've done whilst I was in Port Moresby, but also now in Buka, to create those connections between First Nations peoples, because when you get First Nations people in a room together, magic happens. I really believe that. And I say we because you can never do these things alone. It might be my idea, but it's always the work of a team to get things to actually happen. So I thank the Australian High Commission for supporting the ideas that I've had over the years, and to my colleagues for getting behind the projects that we've initiated. And I promise you that we will keep flying the flag to promote and celebrate First Nations peoples' creativity and talent whilst I'm in Bougainville and beyond. I'm sorry, I think I'm going to cry, but thank you. Thank you.
Cool. Well, thank you so much, Fiona. This has just, been amazing for us, and just all the work that you've done and your commitment to First Nations peoples, across the globe. So we thank you, and it's really good to see you on the screen. So thanks. Okay. I know the award panel was inspired by your achievements, and we are thrilled you and the High Commissioner could both join us from Port Moresby in recognition of the award today. And it's my honour to now invite John Philp, the Australian High Commissioner to Papua New Guinea, to speak. So thank you.
Thanks very much. I think most quickly just to congratulate Fiona. It's a fantastic thing. But you can see, in some ways, it's not a surprise to us when we look at the work she's done, not just here at the High Commission this time around in Buka, but throughout her career, whether it's in her first posting here when she was teaching yoga to prisoners at Bamana, as a sole Australian federal officer in the Torres Strait, working on the Torres Strait Treaty liaison issues, so connecting the communities of the Torres Strait Islanders with the treaty villages on the PNG side. That's a critical part of what we now talk of as First Nations foreign policies, connecting those Indigenous communities. And when you look at what she does now, as she pointed out, we have not only her colleagues from the Buka team watching, but serious senior members of the Bougainville government and the Speaker of the Bougainville Parliament. That really speaks to just how effectively Fiona has managed to connect those communities, build community engagement. Just to build on what Bill was saying earlier, it's not just about the political relations the High Commission engages in, it's not just even about the development work that we do, but a core part of our job, Australia's job in Papua New Guinea as the government, is the people-to-people connections. And that's really what Fiona is fostering brilliantly, and the work she's done most recently in bringing Australian Indigenous voices to Bougainville to enhance the cultural links, to build some of the cultural ideas across and build bridges between those First Nations communities is just fantastic. We're really pleased to have it. Really congratulate you. Fantastic.
Awesome. Oh, thank you so much. I'm learning, new things about Fiona every time somebody speaks. Something else, is mentioned, and just, how amazing you are. And it's great, the work that you've been doing with Torres Strait Islander peoples and people in Bougainville is very, very important, and we, really truly wanted to recognise that. So thank you to the Australian High Commissioner for taking the time to be here with us and talking about the great things that Fiona and our two countries are doing. So I now need to thank everybody for being here and bring, the conclusion of the Bill Armstrong Human Rights Award and our ceremony. And on behalf of the board, I thank you all for attending. I want you to keep well, and we look forward to meeting with you again next time. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, go well.
Thank you.